He was a man on a mission, mounting the steps to the front door of the three-story Victorian home. Most of the lights were on, many of the windows open, the music blaring out for all the neighbors to hear. But it wasn't loud enough to drown out the sounds of raised voices and laughter. Richard banged on the door, his wife stationed at the bottom of the porch steps, watching anxiously. "What are you going to say?" she asked. He ignored her and banged on the door again. He was about to strike it with the heel of his fist a third time when the door swung open. A thin man, maybe 20, just over 6 feet tall, dressed in jeans and a plain dark blue t-shirt and holding a can of Coors in his hand, stood there. "Hey," he said. He blinked woozily a couple of times as he sized up his visitor. Bradley's few wisps of gray hair were sticking up at all angles, his bathrobe had started to part in front, and his eyes were bugging out. "What the hell's wrong with you?" Bradley shouted. "Excuse me?" the man said, bewildered. "You're keeping up the whole damn neighborhood." The man's mouth formed an O, as if trying to take it in. He looked beyond the man and saw Esther Bradley, holding her hands together, almost in prayer. She said, sounding almost apologetic, "The music is a bit loud." "Oh, yeah, shit," he said. "You're from next door, right?" "Jesus," Richard said, shaking his head. "I was over here last week, and the week before that. You got any brain cells left?" The young man blinked a couple more times, then turned and shouted back into the house. "Hey, turn it down! Carter! Hey, Carter! Turn it the fuck down, will you?" 3 seconds later, the music stopped, the sudden silence jarring. The young man shrugged apologetically, said, "Sorry." He extended his free hand. "My name's Brian. Or have I told you that before?" Richard Bradley ignored the hand. "You want to come in for a beer or something?" Brian asked, cheerily raising the bottle in his hand. "We've got some pizza, too." "No," Richard said. "Thank you for the offer," Esther said cheerily. "You're like the people in that house, right?" Brian asked, pointing. "Yes," Esther said. "Okay, well, sorry about the noise and everything. We all had this test today and we were kind of unwinding, you know. If we get out of hand again, just come over and bang on the door and we'll try to dial it down." "That's what I've been doing," Richard said. Brian shrugged, then slipped back into the house and closed the door. Esther said, "He seems like a nice young man." Richard grunted. They returned to their house, the front door slightly ajar from when they'd run out of it in a hurry. It wasn't until they were both inside and had closed and bolted the door that they noticed the two people sitting in the living room. A man and woman. Late 30s, early 40s, both smartly dressed in jeans. Was that a crease in hers? And lightweight jackets. Esther let out a short, startled scream when she spotted them. "Jesus," Richard said. "How the hell did you—" "You shouldn't leave your door open like that," said the woman, getting up from the couch. She wasn't much more than 5'2", maybe 5'3". Short black hair worn in a bob. "That's not smart," she said, "even in a nice neighborhood like this." "Call the police," Richard Bradley said to his wife. It took a moment for the command to register, but when it did, she started for the kitchen. The moment she moved, the man shot up off the couch. He was a good foot taller than the woman, stocky and swift. He crossed the room in an instant and blocked her path. He grabbed her roughly by her bony shoulders, spun her around and tossed her hard into a living room chair. She yelped. "You son of a bitch!" Richard Bradley said, and charged at the man while he was turned away from him. He made a fist and pounded it into the intruder's back, just below the neck. The man spun around and swatted Richard away as if he was a child. As he stumbled back, the man glanced down, saw Richard's bare foot, and drove the heel of his shoe down onto it. Bradley shouted out in pain and collapsed toward the couch, catching the edge and falling onto the floor.